Om Gyanaatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulaamritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll continue our reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Antya Leela, chapter number 6. Lord Chaitanya meets Raghunathas Goswami. Text number 188. So we're currently, last week we saw how Raghunathas Goswami, he finally managed to escape from his house and successfully reach Jagannath Puri to surrender his whole life at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it took him 12 days to travel all the way from Bengal to Jagannath Puri. And in these 12 days, it's mentioned, only 3 out of these 12 days, he was able to get some food to eat. The rest of the 9 days, he completely fasted. So now, finally, after 12 days of making his way through the different villages and forests, he's finally arrived in Jagannath Puri. Okay, so Antya Leela, chapter 6, text 188. He reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days, but could eat only for 3 days on the way. When Raghunathas met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord was sitting with his companions, headed by Swarup Damodar. Staying at a distant place in the courtyard, he fell down to offer obeisances. Then Mukunda Datta said, "Here is Raghunath." As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these words, he immediately welcomed Raghunathas. "Come here," he said. Raghunathas then clasped the lotus feet of the Lord, but the Lord stood up and embraced him out of his causeless mercy. So as soon as Raghunathas comes, he immediately offers his dandavats at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and immediately grabs hold of Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, and then Mahaprabhu picks him up and embraces him. Raghunathas offered praise at the lotus feet of all the devotees, headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Seeing the special mercy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had bestowed upon Raghunathas, they embraced him also. So then Raghunathas, he starts offering his respects to all the other Vaishnavas who are there present with Mahaprabhu. And the other Vaishnavas, seeing how very lovingly and affectionately Mahaprabhu has embraced Raghunathas, they immediately understand that this person, he's no ordinary person, he's very dear to Mahaprabhu, so they all also in turn embrace Raghunathas and bless him with their mercy also. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "The mercy of Krishna is stronger than anything else. Therefore the Lord has delivered you from the ditch of materialistic life, which is like a hole into which people pass through." So very powerful example Mahaprabhu is giving. He's saying, Krishna has been very merciful to you. You were stuck in ordinary materialistic household life, but now by Krishna's mercy you've been able to escape, and now you've come to surrender your life to Lord Jagannath. And Mahaprabhu, he gives one example to Raghunathas Goswami. He's saying that materialistic household life is just like a hole into which people pass through. So in the Western world we have proper established toilets, but in India, in villages, rural towns, the toilet will just be a hole in the ground, and people will come and just pass through in that hole. So Mahaprabhu is saying that hole in the ground into which different people come and pass through, that is exactly what material life is like. And Prabhupada in the purport, he further elaborates. Prabhupada is saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his verdict that those addicted to the materialistic way of life are like worms that are living in stool but cannot give it up. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew very well that Raghunathas was already liberated. Nevertheless, he emphasized that Raghunathas's life of material comfort as a very rich man's son, with a very beautiful wife and many servants to attend to him, was like a ditch of stool. The Lord thus specifically indicated that ordinary men who are very happy with material comforts and family life are in no better position than worms in stool. So, very powerful, analogy Mahaprabhu is giving. So Mahaprabhu is giving this analogy to put down, the Because the modern civilization is portraying, this is the peak, this is the perfection of life. You get a lot of money, you become rich, you get nice big mansion, many cars, this and that. But according to Mahaprabhu's opinion, getting all these material facilities is no better. There's no difference between you and a worm in stool. The worm in the stool is trying to gratify his senses, and you're also trying to gratify your senses. What's the difference? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. It's the same four things you're doing. The worm in the stool is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, in the hole full of stool, and you're doing in a nice big mansion. But is there anything higher you're doing? No. Then what's the difference? So in this way, Mahaprabhu is giving this heavy analogy just to get us to understand the real purpose of life. Raghunath Das answered within his mind, I do not know who Krishna is. I simply know that your mercy, O my Lord, has saved me from my family life. So Mahaprabhu is trying to tell Raghunath Das Goswami that, you're very dear to Krishna, and Krishna has been very merciful to you. By Krishna's mercy, you've been able to become completely detached from material life. But Raghunath Das, in return, he's taking very humble stance, and he's saying that actually, I don't know who Krishna is. All I know is that by your mercy, I've been delivered. So he's putting forth the gratitude towards the Krishna's devotee, or to Mahaprabhu. If you look at Prabhupada's memories, they're on YouTube, different Prabhupada disciples, they share their memories of Srila Prabhupada. And I remember one memory, I think it's either Jadurani Mataji or Govinda Dasi Mataji. When they were sharing the memories of Prabhupada, they were explaining how back then in the late 1960s, the early disciples of Prabhupada, Mataji was openly saying that they didn't know who Krishna was. Because, they brought up in the West, they don't know about Krishna, all these different things. All they knew was Prabhupada. Prabhupada said Krishna is God, so they just accepted, okay, Krishna is God. Prabhupada said worship Krishna, they said, okay, we should worship Krishna. Prabhupada said, okay, you should chant Hare Krishna, okay, we should chant Hare Krishna. So Mataji was explaining that back then, they were just like, simple, innocent kids. Like kids, they're like a blank slate, they don't know anything. Whatever you tell them, they'll just innocently accept and just, start practicing it. So back then, those disciples, they didn't have any idea of Krishna consciousness, bhakti, Krishna, so on and so forth. They were brought up in the West. But they had faith in Prabhupada, that Swamiji, he's for real, Swamiji is genuine, he's very kind, he's a proper saint. Whatever he's saying, it must be the truth. Okay, Swamiji is saying Krishna is God, okay, Krishna is God. Swamiji is saying we should worship Krishna, okay, let's worship Krishna. Swamiji is saying we should chant Hare Krishna, okay, we should chant Hare Krishna. So Mataji was also taking that same humble stance and giving the full gratitude towards Srila Prabhupada, giving the full credit to Prabhupada, that we don't know who Krishna is, all we know is Srila Prabhupada. And by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we've all been saved, and we're practicing Krishna consciousness. Even for most of us, although we're born in India, most of us, we probably never heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, we might have heard of Krishna, Rama, growing up in India, but for most of us, we weren't so much familiar about Gaur Nitai, about chanting Hare Krishna, so on and so forth. But only after coming into ISKCON, coming in contact with Srila Prabhupada's movement, then we start understanding who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Nityananda Prabhu. Only then do we start understanding the glories of Tulsi Marani, chanting the holy name. Before coming to ISKCON, we didn't know that the Yuga Dharma is chanting Hare Krishna. We just thought of, there's many mantras you can chant, there's many songs you can chant, and Hare Krishna is just another song you can chant, or another mantra you can chant. None of us knew the full significance. How in this age of Kali, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kelvalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. That in this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way than chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, then chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, then chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is all by the mercy of Prabhupada. Before coming in contact with Prabhupada's movement, all of these things we didn't know. But by the mercy of Prabhupada, we were able to get all of these realizations. So same thing Raghunath Das is saying, that actually, I don't know who Krishna is, all I know is you and your lotus feet. It is only by your mercy, Mahaprabhu, I have been saved from material life and now taken to spiritual life. Text 195. The Lord continued, Your father and his elder brother are both related as brothers to my grandfather, Nilambara Chakravarti. Therefore, I consider them my grandfathers. Since your father and his elder brother are younger brothers of Nilambara Chakravarti, I may joke about them in this way. My dear Raghunathas, your father and his elder brother are just like worms in stool in the ditch of mature enjoyment. For the great disease of the poison of mature enjoyment is what they consider happiness. Although your father and uncle are charitable to Brahmanas and greatly help them, they are nevertheless not pure Vaishnavas. However, they are almost like Vaishnavas. Those who are attached to materialistic life and are blind to spiritual life must act in such a way that they are bound to repeated birth and death by the actions and reactions of their activities. By His own free will, Lord Krishna has delivered you from such a condemned materialistic life. Therefore, the glories of Lord Krishna's causeless mercy cannot be expressed. Seeing Raghunathas skinny and dirty because of having travelled for 12 days and fasted, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his heart melting due to causeless mercy, spoke to Swarup Damodar. My dear Swarup, he said, I entrust this Raghunathas to you. Please accept him as your son or servant. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is seeing. So remember, he is Raghunathas Goswami. He has just travelled all the way from Bengal to Jagannath Puri. And it has taken him 12 full days to travel. And in these 12 days, only 3 days he was able to get a little food to eat. A little milk, some chickpeas, so on and so forth. The rest of the 9 days, he is just completely fasted. So after traveling through all these villages and forests, now when he's arrived in Jagannath Puri, he's looking very skinny, emaciated, and very dirty in his appearance. So Mahaprabhu notices this, that Raghunathas, he hasn't got any proper food to eat for many days. He's looking very weak and skinny. And when Mahaprabhu sees this, it's explained that his heart starts melting out of compassion. That my dear devotee, look what's happened to him. He's gone through so much hardship just to come to me, just to serve me. So just as a mother's heart melts, in the same way it's explained here, Mahaprabhu's heart was melting out of causeless mercy. And then next to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Mahaprabhu's personal secretary, Swarup Damodar Goswami. And Mahaprabhu immediately tells Swarup Damodar Goswami that, my dear Swarup, I entrust this Raghunath onto your lotus feet. You please take care of him as your son or servant. So in ISKCON, we have different departments. We have like cooking department, preaching department, deity service department, fundraising department. And one of the departments also we have in many temples, we are saying nowadays, is the devotee care department. Certain devotees who take care of the devotees in the congregation, make sure all the devotees are happy, the sadhana is going nicely, they're not getting burnt out, they have a good balance between sadhana and seva, and any issues they have, they can deal with nicely. In this way, the devotee care department, they make sure all the devotees are very happy and enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness. So this is one of the departments that has come up recently, ISKCON. Devotees are stressing devotee care, how we should care for devotees. And one of the main aspects of devotee care is that different devotees, they have mentors whom they can go to get guidance. So they report to to their mentor or senior devotees, how is their sadhana going, what services they're doing, how they should balance, and any issues or problems, questions they have, they can come back to the mentor, and the mentor, they take care of their mentees just as one would take care of one's son, like that. So where did this devotee care system start? We can see it's started all the way from 500 years ago, from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A new devotee has just joined the ashram or the temple, Raghunathas Goswami. He's recently arrived in Jagannath Puri, and he's saying, okay, I want to join the Hare Krishna movement. I want to surrender my life at your lotus feet. What does Mahaprabhu immediately do? He immediately assigns a mentor for him. He says, from this day onwards, Raghunathas, your mentor will be Swarup Damodar. I put you under his custody. Swarup Damodar will be your mentor. He will take care of you. Whatever problems you have, he will take care. And he instructs Swarup Damodar that I entrust this devotee under your care, you please take care of him. Just like a father would take care of his son, with that same love and affection, you take care of Raghunathas. In 5th canto of Bhagavatam, there's the story of Maharaj Gaya. And Maharaj Gaya, Bhagavatam in one verse glorifies him as an ideal king or a leader. And there's 5 qualities given, displayed by Maharaj Gaya, which exemplifies him as an ideal leader. So these 5 qualities, first one is Palana. Palana means to give protection. So anyone who is in a position of leadership, he should protect whoever is under him, both materially speaking and spiritually also. Just like the word Kshatriya, Prabhupada explains, Shat means hurt, and Trayate means to save or deliver. Just like mantra, man means mind, and tra is short for Trayate. So mantra is supposed to free our minds, or protect our minds from bad anarthas. So in the same way, Kshatriya means one who protects one from being hurt. Not just physical harm from rogues and thieves, but also one who protects his citizens from being hurt by the anarthas, specifically lust, karma, sense gratification. So it is also the responsibility of a king or a Kshatriya that on top of protecting them from physical elements, rogues and thieves, he also has the responsibility to make an atmosphere by which he can guide his citizens back home, back to Godhead, and protect his citizens from getting swayed by lust or sense gratification. So in the same way, Maharaj Gaya, this was the first quality he displayed as an ideal leader, which was called Palana. He made sure everyone in his kingdom, all of his citizens, everyone under him, was nicely protected, materially and spiritually speaking. Second thing he displayed, Bhagavatam explains, is Poshana. Poshana means food, or maintaining the bodily necessities. So he made sure everyone in his kingdom, they had, their stomach was full, they had enough food, water, shelter, so on and so forth. So this is the second quality every leader must have. So say someone is leading the kitchen department. It's some festival and someone is the lead cook and he has 10 devotees under him who are helping him in the kitchen. So as the ideal leader, the head chef, he should make sure that everyone in the kitchen, they're protected. Okay, everyone is wearing, enclosed shoes. Everyone is aware of the safety rules, so there's protection is there. And then secondly, most importantly, he should take care of Poshana. He should make sure no one in the kitchen, they go hungry. He should make sure a certain amount of prasad is saved for all the volunteers. Not that whole day, they chop veggies, cook, clean in the kitchen for 4 or 5 hours. In the end, they don't get any prasad. All the prasad goes outside and none of the volunteers get prasad. If that happens, how will the volunteers feel? They'll feel like, whole day I worked hard, I didn't get any food, they'll feel very down. So this is a very important duty or responsibility for anyone who's leading anything. It could be a group of 3 devotees you're leading, or we're leading, but any sort of leadership position we're in, first thing we should make sure that those under us or those in our team are protected. Palana. Second thing, Poshana, very important. We need to make sure that the basic necessities like food is, satisfied for those under us. Next is Prinana, like Priti. Priti means love and affection. So Prinana means the king or the leader, he needs to speak sweet words out of love and affection, encourage those who are under him, saying, oh, Prabhu, you did this very nicely, or Mataji, you did this very nicely. This is very good how you're doing the service. Please keep up the good work. And Prinana also involves giving gifts in charity to those under him. This way, the love and affection is flowing, and those under us will be inspired or encouraged to continue on with the service with greater enthusiasm. When someone appreciates what we're doing, genuinely, not just flattering us just for the sake of it, but when someone is genuinely appreciating what service we're doing, complimenting us, then we think, okay, so this thing I'm doing rightly, let me continue doing this, because it's pleasing the Vaishnavas, And it inspires us to continue on with that service. So that's prinana, speaking sweet words of appreciation, glorification, and also giving gifts and charity. So in this way, those under us will feel inspired and enthused to continue on with their service. So that's number 3. Number 4 is upalalana, which Mahaprabhu is telling Swarup Damodar Goswami. Upalalana means that the leader must treat those under him as if they were his children. That's what upalalana means. That one must take care of his citizens or those persons under him as if they were his children. So just like a parent, he'll be worried about the well-being of the children and will also give love and affection. In the same way, the king is supposed to look upon his citizens as if all the citizens, everyone in the government, are just like his children. Or any leader should look upon everyone working in his team as if they were his children. With that love, affection, concern, he should take care of them. So that's upalalana. And lastly, anusasana. So this comes at the end. Anusasana means giving corrections or giving instructions. Just like King Rishabdev, we hear of also in 5th canto of Bhagavatam. He instructs his 100 sons, in the principles of bhakti, how to rule, how to manage one's life. He gives so many nice, beautiful spiritual instructions. And it's given in Bhagavatam that actually the sons, they were all already self-realized. Mainly King Rishabdev was giving instructions to all the citizens in his kingdom. He was using his sons as the primary audience, but actually he was more preaching to the secondary audience, which was all the citizens who were assembled there. So it is also the duty of a king or a leader to instruct those under him with spiritual instructions. And if someone under us is doing something wrong, it is also our responsibility to correct them. But if we do only correction, if we do only, okay, Prabhu, you're not doing this wrong, you should do this way, you should do that way, then they'll get burnt out. That's why before Anushasana comes, prinana and upalalana. Prinana means, speaking sweet words of affection, giving gifts and charity. Upalalana means taking care of them as if you're children. So if we do these 2 things properly, giving so much love and affection, speaking sweet words, glorifying them, appreciating their service,